This is TWiT.
All right, MWC Barcelona, which of course is the event we all still call Mobile World Congress, despite it being renamed MWC Barcelona years ago. It's canceled this year.
What?
The GSMA, the group in charge, has decided to cancel the event, saying that the coronavirus outbreak has made it, quote, impossible to continue with the event. Mike Murphy from Protocol is here to talk about why it's canceled and why that matters. Welcome, Mike. Thank you for joining us.
Hey, how's it going?
Going well, going well. I want to kick things off, first of all, with the headline of your piece. I think that kind of drills in on what this story really is about. And I'll read it quickly. MWC Barcelona 2020 is canceled. Here's who gets hurt. So let's talk about it. Who gets hurt from this?
So I think, as I say in the story, that the big companies are pretty much going to be fine. Either they're going to be hosting their product launches on the web, or they'll delay them to other times. But there's a lot of smaller companies that may have relied on MWC as the time and the only chance they would have seen to get vendors, to get suppliers, to get clients, to get investors. This might have been their big spend for the year. There's a lot of companies over the years that I've gone to MWC and other events where, the stuff that I've ended up covering has been the things I've come across serendipitously. And, similar to that, the economy of Barcelona, it really has MWC baked in now. It's been going there for about 14 years. I forget the exact number, but it's something around 500 million euros is spent on in the city each year during MWC, and there's over, I think, 14,000 jobs that are created temporarily just for MWC. I don't know if you guys have been, but every station in the city will have like dozens of volunteers or paid workers showing people where to go. There's people everywhere making sure this thing runs smoothly. So this is a huge loss for the city, and also a big loss for a lot of smaller companies.
Right. So one of the things that I hear is, yes, it's a loss for the small companies, but the big companies will continue to be fine and will make their deals elsewhere. So can you talk a little bit about Mobile World Congress, as a journalist, a tech journalist covering it, and maybe as the folks out there who are privy to the event as a place where announcements might happen, new products or new ideas might take place. Is this one of those quote unquote room where it happens kind of events where there are a lot of deals that take place? Do we not just do that over email and Skype calls when Skype decides to work?
I think that there's a certain amount of deals they're always going to be done in person. The same way that I might serendipitously come across somebody. Some telco might come across a random vendor they've never known about and strike up a conversation at the bar or something like that, or one of the myriad events around Barcelona that take place during the event. A lot of the big stuff, it's not like Ericsson is probably going to be signing new 5G deals off the bat at MWC, but there might be leads that come out of it. And I do think that there are smaller things that take place. And a good example of that is a lot of the major companies that are there, they'll have their booth that like anyone can go to. And then they'll have this big other part that'll have security gates in front of it that nobody can get into unless they have, unless they're a vendor or unless they're like some public servant. Like I can't, as a journalist, even get into some of these places. And those are places where important people at the company meet important people at other companies.
So loss of opportunity there, although I'm also seeing a little bit of action on Twitter where, a lot of, especially the journalists who are going there to report on this, their tickets are bought, they're non-refundable, their hotels are reserved, they're non-refundable. And so they're like, well, MWC might not be happening, but I'm going anyways, and anyone who decides to stick around, maybe we can create some sort of grassroots, meetings with some of these companies that aren't happening in the facility itself, but happening outside. Do you think they'll find success in that? What have you heard along those lines?
Yeah, I think that some people are still going to go. I'm trying to figure out if I, bite the bullet on this plane ticket or what. But I know that some companies have said, well, we were planning on doing briefings anyway. We're going. We if enough people say that they're still going, we're still going to do them. They just won't be at the convention center.
Right.
I think that might be helpful because, a lot of these conferences are the only opportunity that a lot of international companies get to talk to Western media or, the international companies talking to people they wouldn't have had access to before. So there's definitely that possibility, but I don't think we're going to see anything on a particularly large scale.
You mentioned in your piece that experts agree that this was the right decision to make. I'd love it if you talked a little bit more about that, because I see some kind of competing information there where we have, especially here in the United States, there are a lot of epidemiologists and other doctors warning against getting overly frightened about something, and here are the ways you can protect yourself, and here are the ways you don't need to worry about protecting yourself, including I remember seeing a photo of a man on an airplane wearing a full sort of personalized air bubble suit in his seat.
Maybe going a little too far on that one.
You might be. I mean, hey, I whatever. If you do you, I guess. Yeah.
Yes.
But my question is, why was this the right decision to make, as opposed to if CES maybe was taking place now, where we might still see that in Vegas? Why was it the right decision for Barcelona? Why have experts said, yeah, that was probably a good thing to do?
Well, I would expect that if this had happened during CES, we would have seen the same thing happen, most likely. I doubt this would have gone ahead if the coronavirus had spread so massively at that point. Okay. But on top of that, I think that the reason that this is big compared to like walking down the street in San Francisco or New York is the confluence of people and the places that they could have come from or met with other people that could have come from places is going to just massively be so much higher at a conference where there's over 100,000 people in attendance. At the end of the day, it might not be that you were coming from Wuhan or Hubei province, but you might have been at the airport where there was a super infector that could potentially have gotten on your flight. And it's like conferences are the exact thing that you're gonna want to hold off on if you're trying to curtail a pandemic, I think. And there were people from all over the world that were coming to this. It wasn't just Western media, it wasn't just Eastern media or companies from wherever. It's people from all over. That being said, I don't know. Maybe there could have just been a scaled back conference, and there could have just been like at the Samsung event the other day. There were people just testing people's temperatures with electronic monitors. MWC said they were going to do that. Maybe that would have been enough, but I think the real issue was, even if there wasn't going to have been an issue on the conference floor, enough companies had pulled out where it was seemingly untenable to actually have the conference anymore.
Now, I saw that you sort of talked about some of the things, you talked about the serendipity in the smaller companies that might not do so hot because of the cancellation of this. But one of the big things with Mobile World Congress, obviously, when you've got this big group of folks that talk about phones and the communication between devices, is something like 5G. But it looks like, regardless, 5G is immune to the coronavirus, is sort of what your article seems to state, right?
Yeah, I think that's fair. I mean, there might be announcements, there might be holdups. If there are production parts that need to come from places in China that are under lockdown still, there will be disruptions there. But, as I said, the big companies are not really going to be massively affected by this. And, for the last, 4 or 5 years, I feel like all anyone's talked about at MWC is 5G is almost here. This is the year of 5G. And it's like this year it actually is. So it almost doesn't matter that from a 5G perspective that, we're not all there to trumpet that this is the year of 5G because, Samsung just put out all their new phones and they're all 5G ready. I could look out the window right here on a building across the street and see a small cell. So this is happening. We're getting close.
You're the one. Literally,
have
our last interview, we spoke with Michael Fisher, Mr. Mobile, about this, and you were the one of the 5 people that we mentioned where we said, unless you have one of these transmitters right outside your window, ... It's you.
Wow.
Okay,
I'm in Midtown New York.
Yeah. Okay. But admittedly, it was way less difficult to find you than I thought it was going to be. So
yeah, they're out there. Mike Murphy of Protocol, we do appreciate you joining us and sort of talking about this. If people want to follow along with your work online, where do they head?
You can head to protocol.com or follow me on Twitter at MCWM.
Yeah, congrats on your position at Protocol. I love what you guys are doing so far. Everybody should definitely check it out. Protocol.com. Mike, thank you again.
Of course. Thanks for having me.